Good afternoon, everyone. Good to be with you again. Brad Macbeth here with the Simple Plan Live. And today we're going to do a bit of a different episode. We're not going to focus in so much on a particular topic or techniques, tips, how to do things, either big picture or more tactical. We're instead going to talk about the times we're in and how we can be prepared for challenging financial times. It's late October 2022. We're finally, unfortunately, sliding out of the endless summer that went on. It just went on and on and on for us here in this part of the country. And we're into fall. It's rainy, it's cool, and winter's coming. And I think that's about what we can say where we're at in the bigger picture financially right now as well. That we are in an autumn, things are declining, and we have probably a hard winter ahead for a time. Now, this isn't unusual, just as the seasons come on the planet, so they come in finances as well. They've come really endlessly, repeating cycles for centuries, really. And so we shouldn't be surprised, though we may be facing some difficulties. And so I want to talk today specifically about how you can be prepared in your family for challenging financial times. And I want to invite you as well, join us in the Simple Plan community on Facebook. That's at facebook.com/groups/Simple Plan community. You can come on there. We talk about all these things there. And we'd love to hear your comments, your questions, and just walk together with you in our community as we all figure out how to run our lives financially. And I want to also mention to you that you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter. I'll just put it up there on the screen. We put out a newsletter every week. It will keep you abreast of what's happening with videos, tips, tools, and just the different special events that go on here at the Simple Plan. So we hope you'll join us there. Now, let's just take a quick look at where things are at right now, this very minute. Now, this is the S&P 500, and so it's current as of today. It's, 4:59 p.m. Eastern time. So the markets are closed now for the day. And so what we can see is things went up today a little. So that's great. We took a real turn right at the beginning of 2022. And so I like to keep looking at, well, how's that going? And right now, we've come back a bit. We were almost down 25% about a week ago. We're back up to only being down 21% for the year. So call that good news if you want to. You can see there's been a bit of an uptick here. We bottomed out there. Yeah, we bottomed out there last Friday, indeed, so a week ago. And just in these 5 days, here you go, there's some good news. Just in these 5 days, we're up 3%. So that feels great. Things are bouncing around all over the place. But what we know is that we're in a downturn. There are some major economic forces at play that are probably going to see us through a fairly long downturn. In fact, even those who would normally never really acknowledge this out loud are saying so. Canada's finance minister came out this week and talked about the very challenging times ahead. It seems that we are entering into a time of recession. The United States is a little ahead of us on that track, but we're all heading down that same path. Now, historically, we've seen a number of things happen in recession. One of the main things has been loss of employment. So unemployment goes up. But interestingly, at least for now, we're still in a time where we have very low unemployment and employers are having great difficulty finding employees. So we'll see how that plays out during this downturn. Typically, we can expect probably another 6 to 18 months of turbulent times economically, including getting worse from here. Now, that may not mean that the stock market goes down. It may not, but there are going to be some difficult things ahead. Interest rates are going to go up here in Canada again in about another 4 days. We saw the inflation numbers come out from the United States and then from Canada, and even though interest rates have been raised very dramatically, really in an unprecedented way through 2022, it's slowing down the rate of inflation, but not by much yet. So we're going to see another interest rate increase here in a few days. We're likely to see another interest rate increase early in December, and then maybe even another one late in January. And that has a few major effects. It has a huge effect on business in general, because businesses will then seek to pay down their debt and not borrow to grow, which will lead to a contraction in the amount of economic activity or productivity throughout the country. Of course, many people will feel it as an immediate effect as they are homeowners with mortgages. And so especially those, which I believe is around 25% of Canadians who have variable rate mortgages, they're going to feel the pain of that increasing. They've already felt a fair bit of that pain. They're going to continue to feel that. Those who have lines of credit that are attached to variable rates are feeling that pain as well. We're also going to, even for those without variable mortgage rates, of course, if everybody were on a 5-year mortgage, 20% of those would be renewing in any given year. But of course, not everyone's on a 5-year mortgage. So we're probably going to be looking at 25% of people that have mortgages have variable rates, and another 25% are probably going to be renewing in the next while. And so consequently, mortgage payments are going to be much higher. Now, there's a plus side to that if you flip it around. Those who are savers, and just like the security of things like guaranteed investment certificates and what have you, that they're going to enjoy the increased rates after having just awful rates of return for decades now. Now, of course, we also have the price of fuel. That's really reflected in inflation, but I'd say the two places people are really feeling it right now are in the price of fuel and the price of food. The look of shock among the zombies that are walking the aisles of the grocery store, just disbelieving at what they're seeing every time they go there. Prices have increased. $4 a pound broccoli, $5 a head lettuce, that kind of thing. It's difficult and it's painful, and that's going to get worse. Of course, everything is affected by the price of energy, because energy is one of the main inputs in transportation. It's also a primary use source for heat, which is important in Canada, and for cooling, which is important for transporting fresh and perishable goods and storing them. So all in all, things are looking difficult, and they're going to get more difficult. The price of houses is, it's receding somewhat. There's a lot of debate as to how much it will recede, but it's likely, I think, that we're going to see a more significant drop in housing prices. It depends on the market you're in. We can't make a prediction about Canada overall, but certainly economic or real estate activity has slowed enormously from the crazy pace it was at. Now, my whole point here isn't to give you a kind of an economics lecture. It's to say times are going to get difficult. We're heading into an economic winter, I would say, and you need to be prepared for that. And so if you're not already prepared, I just want to share with you some ideas of what you should be doing to prepare, and share with you some of the tools that we've developed over time. They're free to use, that will help you in planning and setting yourself up for the winter that's ahead of us. So the first thing you need to have a good grip on is your own cash flow. And by that, I mean, you need to know how much money is coming in, how much is going out. And you want to make sure that there's more coming in than is going out in every month. And ideally, you've got some that you're setting aside every month for emergencies and for the future. Debt is an absolute cancer on our finances, where it's especially for consumer debt. And we're already seeing debt rates soaring and saving rates plummeting, primarily because the cost of goods has gone up so much in such a short period of time. You know, we're told that food inflation last month was running at 11% annually. I would venture it's even higher than that. It's quite shocking, the experience at the grocery store every time things seem to have gone up. Now, you know, maybe it's not so bad in some more competitive markets like the Greater Vancouver area, where you have some pretty competitive pricing if you seek it out for things like fresh produce. But in other areas where there's less of that competitiveness because it's not grown nearby, it's a little more difficult. So you can prepare yourself by getting your finances in order. And that means we call it giving every dollar a job. That is, you know how much money's coming in and you know exactly where it's going to. And if you don't have that kind of a system set up for you, it goes well beyond what people have conventionally called a budget. It is budgeting. There is an aspect of that, but it's really managing your cash flow and having complete control over your money coming in and going out, and being very intentional with that. And we've really lost that over the last few decades because of the way that we handle our money now. First off, we don't handle cash much, though, just as a minor aside, we saw this just recently. Rules have changed, so merchants can now charge you for using your credit card. I say that's great, because why should those of us who aren't using credit cards be paying the increased costs that merchants have to pay or have to charge in order to pay the Visa and MasterCard fees? So I think it's great. It's transparent. And if people want to do it, go ahead and use your credit card. But I think it'll also put a bit of a lie to that notion of, well, if I use my credit card, I get my points and blah, blah, blah. But, well, you know, if you're adding a 2% charge onto every transaction you do, then, you know, maybe you're not getting such great value out of that credit card. Anyway, that's here. That's what's happening. And I expect that's going to spread as those who use cash and debit card will increasingly demand that they not be subsidizing the use of credit cards for those who are using those. So you want to have total control. You don't have it because we're just moving our money around in so many ways right now. And there's different ways to do that. If you really need to get a handle on it, going to using cash as much as you can, or at least in the areas where you have some discretion over your spending, can be very helpful. To learn more about that, we have a program that we set up a while ago. We bring it out from time to time. I'm just going to post it up here. And that is our budget and cash flow tutorial. It provides you the tools you need. It provides you instruction on how to do it. And you can just copying this for you. You can set it up in place for yourself exactly how to run your monthly cash flow and budget. Now, I'm going to tell you it takes a while. It usually takes about, it doesn't take that much to get it initiated, but it takes, 3 to 6 months to get it working really, really smoothly. That is, in the first 2 to 3 months, you're going to have a few bumps as you carry along, trying to figure out how to do this. But once you get going, once you get used to it and you start repeating the cycle month over month, it becomes habit and it becomes second nature. And then you'll wonder how you ever operated the other way. because most people aren't managing their money this way. And it's the number one source, or it's at least at the root of people not having good control over their finances. So yes, set up your budget and your cash flow plan and operate accordingly. And once again, there is the information, the place you can go to get signed up and just get started. You can get started right now. It's not hard. It takes some effort. It's not simple either, in the sense that you have to take some focus. But the idea that it is simple, that running your money is simple, is an illusion. It's never been simple. We've made it simple by not paying attention to it, and that's the source of a lot of problems. On the other hand, people who pay close attention to it have much greater success with their money at whatever economic level they operate. Okay, so that's one of the cores. Another one is financial security, and that is, how are we going to operate if we don't have the money coming in that we need? Most of us think that our greatest asset is our home, or maybe our investment portfolios, if those have grown nicely, or we don't own a home. For some people that have neither of those, that are just getting started, maybe it's their car. But none of those is anyone's greatest asset. Our greatest asset is our ability to earn an income. So, for example, if you're 30 years old and you're making, say, $60,000 a year, over the next 35 years, you're going to make probably another $3 to $4 million. That's much bigger than the value of your house, your investment portfolio probably, or what have you. You have that capacity, and maybe more. That's just at 60,000, kind of an average kind of income. If your income's greater than that, obviously your ability to earn that income is even greater. And I'm factoring in there inflation, and that you're going to get some salary increases and what have you. So what are you doing to protect that asset, that great asset? Because your ability to earn an income can be affected in three different ways. It can be affected by temporary unemployment. It can be affected by illness or injury. And of course, it can be affected by death. And so when we're putting together a financial security plan, we have to be able to cover off all three of those components. And so let's start with unemployment. So unemployment happens because it happens. You get laid off, you get fired, the business closed down, whatever happens. Now, right now, it's pretty easy to find some form of work. Maybe not immediately in your regular occupation, but there's all sorts of things we can do to keep making money. And that's good. That's great. It means we're not going to be in a difficult period for a long period of time on that front. But other things can affect our immediate cash flow as well. Sometimes there can be sudden expenses. So, for example, let's say a tree falls in through the roof of your house. Well, you may have a budget for replacing your roof, but you're expecting to replace your roof in 10 years, not 10 minutes from now. And that windstorm blew that tree into it. So all of a sudden, you've got a $10,000 or a $20,000 expense or whatever it is. You need to have some emergency fund. Maybe you've got some emergency dental work that had to be done that turns out is going to cost $4,000 or $5,000. Maybe there's a car crash, or, there's a million maybes. Maybe your spouse is ill and you need to stay home and take care of them. So you're unable to work. So things come along, and, there are bumps in our financial road. Some of them are big. We're going to talk about those. Some of them aren't as big, whether it's temporary unemployment or some of these other things. For temporary unemployment and these other things, they're small enough. They're not small, so they can't really be handled just out of cash flow. But they're small enough that we can have a fund set aside called an emergency fund to take care of them. And again, if you go through the budget and cash flow course, we talk a little bit about it. We have another course I'm going to talk about that you can take. It's just a one-day tutorial. These aren't big things. The financial security tutorial talks about the emergency fund, and you need somewhere generally between 3 and 6 months of expense money set aside, fully accessible. So it's not invested in something that's got risk to it. It's not locked up into something that you can't get at for another 6 months or a year. It's fully available and it's not at risk, so you know how much is going to be there when you need it. And you need 3 to 6 months of expense money set aside for that. If you have a very solid job that you're not likely to get laid off from, and it's a company or business that's not going to go out of business. So let's say, the best example of that might be a fair number of government jobs. Then you're probably fine with 3 months. But if you're someone who's either works for yourself or maybe is more freelance, or perhaps you're in a more volatile industry where there's a lot of transition, you probably want to have something more in the order of 6 months saved up. Now, it's just expense money. It's not necessarily of income, because, if you have an emergency or you're unable to work temporarily, you're going to forego some expenses. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy clothes every month. You don't have to necessarily, you can suspend your investments for a couple or 3 months if you need to, and that kind of thing. So it's just kind of 3 to 6 months of your core expenses saved up. And if you've gone through the budget and cash flow course, you will know exactly what that is. But there are bigger things that can happen that can impede our ability to earn an income. Disability is one of them. And most advisors and systems will teach that you're much more likely to be unable to work for a period greater than 90 days than you are to die prematurely. And so most of us carry life insurance to protect our families in case we should die prematurely. But many of us don't carry disability insurance, even though we're much more likely to miss work because of disability. And so disability insurance covers you if you're unable to work, either due to illness or to accident. And so it continues to pay your income or a portion of your income, again, kind of back to that expense money, through the period of time that you're unable to work. So disability insurance is something you want to have in your financial security toolkit. And then, of course, finally, you want to have life insurance, especially if you have anyone who depends on your income. Now, with disability insurance, of course, you depend on your own income. So that's why you need to have disability insurance, not just for family or children or what have you, but you need it for yourself, because if you're unable to work, how are you going to pay your rent? However, for life insurance, of course, if you have nobody dependent on your income, you may not necessarily need life insurance. There can be other purposes for it, but the core purpose is for people who are dependent on your income. If you're single, no one's dependent on your income, then maybe you don't need life insurance. But if you have people, whether it's a spouse or children or even parents, perhaps siblings, perhaps someone who's unable to earn an income or a full income for themselves that depends on your income, you need to have life insurance to cover their life expenses in the event that you pass away unexpectedly. It's there to ensure that they're able to maintain their way of life, even if your income is gone. So, of course, primarily we think of our spouse and children when we are looking at life insurance, but there can be other cases where you need that. So if you download and go through the financial security tutorial, it will step you through all the questions around a bunch of that, including how much does life insurance cost? How do I get life insurance? How much life insurance do I need? There's calculators for that. You can get instant quotes and see. And even if you have life insurance, you can get instant quotes and compare, am I covered? Do I have enough coverage? And am I paying too much? Because a lot of people have the wrong kind of insurance as well for their situation. And sometimes they're paying too much and not getting the coverage that they need. So that's in our financial security tutorial. I'll put the information right up there. Here we go. And that's going to help you to just get the confidence that you have your financial security taken care of, so you don't have to worry about it. Because when we have that financial security in place, when we have our emergency fund and we know we're insured against any of these things that can come up, then we rest easy. We know that whatever happens, we're prepared. Now, the final area that I want to talk about, because this is also where I'm getting a lot of questions these days, is investing. A lot of people are, of course, rightly troubled that markets have gone down 22%, though again, and that's just the S&P 500 I'm talking about. Again, that's par for the course. That's a normal part of economic cycles. And if you're well diversified, so for example, a lot of the portfolios that our clients use, yes, they have a strong component of the US stock market in the S&P 500, but they've also got Canadian stock holding or mutual fund type holdings, and they've got international holdings. And so overall, we've seen that kind of a blended portfolio. While the US markets dropped 25%, that blended portfolio has gone down maybe 13 or 14%, which is the purpose of diversification. And so people are asking, well, what should I be doing? Should I take my money out of the market? Well, my answer to that is it's really kind of too late. Now, yes, the market may drop again. It may go down some more yet. Maybe we're going to head down to 40% down or 45% down even, which means we're only halfway there right now. That's a possibility over these next 6 to 12 months. But if we don't, if you take your money out of the market now and the market goes back up and then you put it back in, you have done the opposite of the old cliche. The cliche goes, you want to buy low and sell high. Well, instead you've sold low and then you're buying higher. So research has shown that investors and advisors are notoriously bad at timing the market. And if you look at the big picture, long-term investor successes, someone like a Warren Buffett, they don't seek to time the market in that sense. They do time the market in that when they start to think that, well, things are probably going to go bad for a while because we're due for that, and there's different factors you can kind of see, they will start to move some of their money into cash, and then they'll wait. And when things go down, they'll buy in. So right now, those who've perhaps got some reserves on the sidelines might be wanting to look at putting money in now. Now, however, markets may continue to go down, in which case you want to perhaps systematically put the money in over periods of time, like week by week or month by month, to do what's called dollar cost averaging. But don't panic. There's no need to panic. And since most of us are looking at our long-term savings, you should really only have your money seriously at financial risk, and that is, subject to this type of volatility, if it's long-term investing. And long-term investing is usually earmarked for retirement. So we have one more tool. We released it just a while ago. I talked about it a lot as recently as probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. And that is our 7 steps to retirement security tutorial. And it will just take you through the 7 different steps to build yourself a retirement security that you don't have to worry about. Because one of the greatest concerns that Canadians have, in fact, they identify it as their number one financial concern, is running out of money in retirement. And so if you haven't already signed up for it, you can go and take this tutorial as well, the 7-step workshop on retirement security. It takes you again through a range of planning tools to help you figure out how much money should I be saving, how should I be saving it. It also talks about the different types of vehicles you can save it in. So if you've got money invested and you're wondering, have I got it set up right? This is a great place to have a look and ask yourself some questions and maybe take the measure of where things are at. So I just wanted to share these with you because for two reasons. One, to alleviate the concerns and fears that people are experiencing because of the economic times we're in and that are ahead of us in the coming months. But also, if you haven't got started or you're not certain of where things are at, these are good tools to help you get going. Now, of course, I'm always happy to sit down and chat. If you have questions, if you want to know more on any of these topics, I'm happy to meet with you. I do a lot of free, 15-minute kind of quick question meetings or introductory meetings. And you can book that for yourself at a time that fits your schedule. We meet online or we can meet over the phone. There's how you get there. go.getthesimpleplan.com/calendar-new. And I'd love to get together with you and discuss any of these things. Or, as I mentioned earlier, you can join the Simple Plan community and bring your questions there. We're always happy to answer the questions that you have and address whatever topics are on your mind financially. Right there on your screen, you can see where you can join that. And then last, of course, again, you can stay up to date on everything that we're releasing and talking about. We have articles every month, every week actually, in our weekly newsletter. And that's free as well. You go.getthesimpleplan.com/subscribe. So I just want to leave you with encouragement that, yes, we are heading into some challenging times, even more challenging times economically than we're in right now. We're seeing a lot of turmoil on all sorts of fronts. But if you get control of your finances, if you're managing your cash flow and budget, if you have a strong financial security plan in place, and if you know that whatever stage of life you're at, you're well on your way to that retirement security that you're looking for, then you can rest easy. Yes, things may get turbulent and difficult around you, but you'll be fine. As Warren Buffett put it, when the tide goes out, we know who's been skinny dipping, financially speaking. And so you don't need to be one of those people. You can have mastery over your finances. And even if you're feeling like things are difficult and you don't know what you're doing right now, get started, dig in, and you'll find that you will quickly turn that around from feeling like things are out of control to feeling like you are controlling the things you can control and managing for the things that you can't control. And that will lead you down a much more confident, serene, and prosperous path in your life. So I look forward to connecting with you. Get in touch directly, book an appointment, join our Facebook group. We'd love to get together. We love to hear from you. And I hope you and your family have a great weekend, a great week ahead, and that you are feeling confident and strong in your finances. Thank you very much for joining us.